Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
What's going on, brother?
What's going on? How you doing, man? Is it Friday already?
It's Friday. Yes, sir. It's Friday. Yes, sir. And it's a good day.
Friday. They say
time waits. Friday. I'm glad that it is Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Time waits for no man, man. Hello, everybody. Community Beacon. We are here in the place to be every Friday at 6:30. I think we were a couple minutes late, but that's okay. Got myself and the brother on the other side of the mic. I'm Mike Seville, your real estate extraordinaire. The brother calls me the real estate king. I'll take
it. That's it. Real estate king.
And of course, we have Joel Simmons. Brother, tell them about yourself. We're back.
We're back and glad to be here, y'all. You know. Glad to be here. Tenacity Foundation, you know, we're on the map and you all can look us up, check us out. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, tonight is about Community Beacon. But let's clear the house out first, brother.
Yeah. Let's get the housekeeping going. People, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Every week we come by, every week we drop little nuggets in order to let us excel and go to the next higher place. And we're also implementing a lot of these different things that we're talking about. Of course, last month it was legacy. So if you didn't get a chance to legacy, that was an excellent month in which we spoke about, how to transfer. We gave you the Venn diagram, etc. And this month, of course, we're getting back into pressure and stress. So the first week we kind of introduced the topic. Last week we came together and we put together a format that you can use to help recognize and what we can do in regards to our stress and either busting pipes or making diamonds. So this week we'll go a little bit into how we can actually use that format that we discovered, those 7 cues and techniques that we can use, and then we can turn around and put it towards some use. So when the brother gets back, we'll kind of get into that. Until he does, and I guess we normally talk about what happened during the week, and this week for me was an exciting week. It was probably one of the best weeks of the year. Of course, we're about a month and a half into the year. But I had the fortune and the pleasure of attending the Mike Ferry, which Mike Ferry is the real estate coach's coach. I mean, this is the originator, 1975. What is that? 47 years. We're in 2022. 47 years of real estate coaching, and he's the true originator. And this was my first event. It was on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday down here in sunny South Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be exact. Much love to Milton James, the realtor from out of Orlando. If you're going to Orlando, Milton James is definitely one of the top realtors there. Had a prospecting group that I joined, and of course, he invited me to attend this convention. And man, I was blown away. I mean, here's a guy who's 77 years old, probably one of the best speakers that I've had the fortune of seeing in person. It's packed with loads and loads of information on how to become a better agent. It's been awesome. So definitely enjoyed that for the past 3 days. Like I said, I mean, my mind is just overwhelmed with the amount of information that I got. And I know Joel and I was kind of talking about it last week because he also had came back from California where he had it was a convention in California, if I'm not mistaken. And it was interesting because one of the things he said, which I'm going to use and implement, was that when he got back, he just kind of had to sit. You know, he had to be patient. He had to sit with I guess everything that was going on from that. And this is the same thing with this convention that I attended from Tuesday to Thursday. It's like there's so much information. I probably have about 8 to 10 pages of notes that I've taken. So it's time for me to kind of take the couple of things that I'm going to take, because you can't implement all of them, even though they're simple. Just take a couple of things and use them in order to better my real estate business. But it was awesome, man. It was like I said, one of the best speakers, touched on a lot of different things: presentations, prospecting, closing, and oh my God, the sales, because he's a sales trainer, and the amount of things that's missing within the industry. And he talks about it. Only 2% of realtors understand that it's a sales business. And so it was excellent. It got to be around a lot of great agents. I mean, people who are doing numbers that I couldn't even fathom. And that's another thing, you know, when we're talking about exposure, because you think you're doing something. You think you're doing something until he picks on someone and say, well, how much are you going to do this year? And they're telling you that, hey, I'm scheduled to close, have about $4.1 million in commissions by the end of March. That 4.1 million is a lot of numbers. I said, what is she selling? Because I don't think it's houses. 4.1 million by the end of March. So that is something awesome. To like, wow, this is, I mean, it's like I think a lot of us tend to not be successful because we're not exposed to what success looks like. And you get to see people who are actually moving and what is in exactly what they're doing and it's work. Like, make no qualms about it. This is not, I'm going around just showing houses. I mean, this is actually work. And I tell people, like, I actually feel like since October of last year, like this actually feels like work. I mean, because I'm working, I'm working every day, getting better every day. And this was like, to top it off, being a part of that great program. So I was definitely excited. Brother, you're back.
Yeah, it looks like I'm having a little bit of microphone difficulty. Are you still hearing the feedback?
I wasn't hearing it originally, but
okay, it's good. Yeah. So
I'm
still hearing it. So it sounds a little strange inside my head, So I got some headphones on, but I'm listening to my voice, and I'm not liking that at all. I'm just letting you know. It is what it is. We can talk. It's a professional show. I know we're stepping the game up, but I mean, wow, really.
You look good, brother.
Thank you. So do you. Appreciate it.
You look good. Appreciate it, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thank you. Shouts out to Kevin.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so man, you're looking fresh. You're looking good. I know we're ready to present this information. I know we're going to get into this stress in regards to business and family. And I thought this week that we would kind of start off with some ways, or we thought we can start off with some ways in where we can kind of show people how we implement these 7 cues that we kind of went over, and just for reviewing the cues in regards to being aware of the stress and exactly how we can use it to make ourselves better, to make ourselves diamonds, as opposed to busting pipes. And I really want to talk about the busting pipes part as well, because as we discussed in the first show, 90% of illnesses are stress related. We showed the stat where we got that information from, but it stated that 90% of illnesses are stress related. So if you're starting to have certain things where, stomach issues, heart issues, blood pressure issues, I would even go as far as cancer, etc. Like, a lot of these things come from built up stress and not knowing what to do with it. And your body is storing this stress. But your body can only store so much. Your body can only take on so much, especially if you're not finding ways to make it yourself stronger. So if you don't even know it's there, then boom, now you have this unknown or can't be identified illness and you choose to mask it, and that's normally what happens is we tend to mask it a lot with pills, a lot with all different kinds of things that are prescribed and sometimes non-prescribed as well. So we're definitely going to talk about some great ways to not only release it, but also to use it in order to kind of build on it. So let's go over some of the 7 cues that we're kind of going to get into, and then we can get into these stories and how we would use them. Hindsight being 2020, for that, right, brother?
I love it. I love it. I think that's important that you said that, I mean, especially when we went through 2020, the year 2020, it felt like there was a lot of hindsight going on. People had to really think about the choices that they had made inside their life, because this was a major point in time in the lives of creatures, people on the planet Earth. Everybody was affected by this global pandemic. Everybody had to think again about their life and where they were in life. And the stress, that stress built up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
and,
let's
and,
get
and going through this last training program that I did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'd like to add some things, and it's actually I wouldn't. It's going to kind of be added underneath taking a break, because there was one thing that he brought up, and I mean I'm at this convention. You're around a lot of high productive people. I mean, people that are high achieving, high performers. I mean, you got guys doing 1 point something million a year, 250 transactions a year. Let me tell you about 250 transactions a year. The average realtor does 4 to 6 transactions a year. 4 to 6. That's the average. Most realtors fall below average, but that's the average because you got to weigh it out. These higher producers are doing 100, 150, 200, 250 transactions a year. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of stress. We know that when you're moving, and definitely when you're buying a property, that's like one of the most stressful things that could ever happen. Nobody really wants to move. Most people move because of life changes, some type of difference is going on in their life. So here you have these guys who are dealing with it. So here was one of the things that he did, and I made sure, or he recommended, and I made sure that I starred and I crossed it because I could see myself as well. And that was, let me go straight to the page. And I'm going to add this one under taking a break. So along with taking a break, you hear me, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Along with taking a break, one of the things he spoke about he spoke about adding humor. So essentially adding something joyful to your life. So
Adding humor.
adding. So he said adding humor. So he says one of the things that he did in regards to before he went on stage, some things to help take the pressure off was he would watch different comedians. Now this guy is 77 years old, so he's talking about people like Rodney Dangerfield, Bob Hope, some of the older comedians. Like I said, he's 77, but these were some of the things he did before he took the stage. I mean, he's 77, was the lone speaker for 3 days, 8 hours, and these were all 8-hour sessions. And he's going and he's presenting. Of course, you had your 15-minute breaks. You had one 15-minute break in the morning. You had your lunch break, and then you had a 15-minute break when you got back from lunch. So we're talking about in the conventions from 9 until 4. So we're talking about 6 to 7, about 6.5 hours of him by himself. 77 years old, going up there speaking with vigor, with energy, with enthusiasm, with humor. So I'm starting to hear a little bit of feedback now. I don't know if you turned something on. So yeah. So the humor was a part of it, but I will add that to taking a break. All right, let me run down the different the cues. We have the identify. We spoke about identifying. Awareness is key. Being able to identify when you're in your stressful situation and exactly what's going on. Number two is to list. List out what are some of the things that may be stressing you out. What's bothering you? Who, what, when, how, and who is bothering you. Prioritize. You got to break it down. We spoke about triage. We spoke about figuring out what needs urgent attention, all the way to what may not necessarily need the attention. We spoke about, I'm sorry, brother. We spoke about activating, putting something into action. What are we doing to put into action? How are we maneuvering these different things? We spoke about less is more, taking away some things or breaking it down to little chunks. Start to figure out, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Taking a break, which is where we added humor. So sometimes you just need to take a break and sit back. After this convention, 3 days, the next couple of days, I'm going to have to transcribe and take a break and kind of look at everything. Because if you don't, you might not implement anything. Nothing happens. So sometimes you need to take a step back in order to move forward. And then, of course, we have going to consulting, finding someone, getting in the right circles. You can go to hiring somebody, whether it's a coach, whether it's a life coach, like is, whether it's a counselor, somewhere along those lines, whether it's going to your pastor. I don't think we mentioned it last time, but I want to mention it now. Some people that you can confide in. I'm a huge proponent of having the right people around you. There to challenge you, there to care for you. They can empathize with you. They don't necessarily have to align and agree with you, but they're willing to hear you. And then if you need them to offer some kind of feedback or to help out, then that's there as well. So definitely, those are the 7 cues, and I guess we can kind of get into a story and figure out, let's see how this is the first time we're doing this format. So you all let us know, and of course, feel free to engage, put some information out there on the
Hey. All right, Tim Perry's in there. Timmy, how you doing there, brother?
Right. What's going on, Tim?
Yeah, Tim Perry. So it's funny, I just met Tim Perry last night, brother. I was out there at an engagement, and we're supposed to be catching up a little bit later on. I gave away a free coaching session at one of my networking events, and so he won it. 10 weeks. 10 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a good win. Because I tell you what, talk about that pressure, brother, just pressure with dealing with all this A and V over here. This is not my wheelhouse. This isn't it, this ain't my wheelhouse. So I'm doing the best that I can. But, we got to keep making things go forward. So let's get into this story, Mike. You had a story that you were going to discuss about. And, I want to hear what you got to say, because you said there was a point in time when you had a lot of stress that was banking down on you. And let's get into it, man. When did you know about this? How did you figure this out? What made you think about it?
Well, first off, let me let people. I am human. I know it feels like I'm a machine, and it feels like I'm a machine, but I am I'm 100% human. And sometimes I think that you think you can take on more than you think you can take on a lot, right? So I've already told this story, and the first time I actually told it was on It's Up to Me. It's up to me. That was the first time I told the story. Yeah, it starts with me. It takes Wednesdays at 12:30. Go check it out if you haven't checked out that episode. And so essentially, it was 2016. A lot of life changes. One of the things that happened was I left the city. I had been working at the city for close to 10 years at that point in time. So it went from college. I think I worked at the Drug Abuse Foundation for about a year. And then I ended up going back into the community and working with the city, with the Youth Empowerment Center in West Palm Beach. One of the things that I told myself, because I was intentional. I had a plan. I had a vision. I knew that eventually I would be the businessman that I am. However, I said, well, let me give the first thing I do before I go make all of the money, before I go out and make my billions, I'm going to give back. This is my way of going. I'm going to give back before it's time to give back. In hindsight, 2020 definitely learned a lot from that situation. But that I don't know if I would do it the same way. But it was what it was, and definitely learned a lot. Learned a lot from the city. So much love to everyone at the youth departments and all my other co-workers. I had planned on being there for 5 years. I ended up being, like I said, I doubled that. And there were a lot of things going on with my mind, because I know I should have left earlier than when it was, or I had intended to leave earlier than when it was. But one of the things that often gets caught up, and this is something that we need to check and kind of understand, is we start to take on a lot of responsibilities. And I almost would say it's a lot of ego and lack of humility, because we feel like we're the ones that's going to change everything. Like we're going to do certain things. And so getting involved with the city, getting involved with the community, because that's exactly what it was, working with the Youth Empowerment Center down there in Pleasant City, and we were on Pine a little bit, and getting involved with the kids, starting to see a lot of positive change. Of course, the youth empowerment came from, there was a lot of gang activity going on in Palm Beach County, and we were one of the youth empowerment centers. I think there were 5. One was in Rivera Beach, Point Beach, et cetera, et cetera. You can check it out. Had a lot of success going on there as well. But then, at some point in time, you kind of knew it was time to move on. So, I like that a lot better, brother. So what happened is that around 2016, my grandmother, I think it was my second the last grandmother of the family, she passed on. And so so prior to that, because in Jamaica, you got to wait about a month and a half for a funeral, because everyone has to make plans to get down there, et cetera, et cetera. It takes about a month. They're sitting around for about a month ready for this funeral, getting ready. And prior to leaving, I said, it was time. And I wouldn't even necessarily that it was something that was planned. It was more so that when you start to have people who are close to you and they pass, you really get to thinking about life. And I mean, like you're minute to minute, like we don't know. So I had plans and I didn't know. However, I was involved in real estate. So it wasn't like I just left, but it definitely was a parachute. There was no parachute. This is me jumping. Steve Harvey has that book called Jump. And I definitely jumped. I gave the city my 2 weeks, which coincided with my bereavement leave. And that was it. So that happened in July. I left the city probably about mid-July. Probably about mid-July. And everything was fine. But what happens is that I was new. I was a new businessman, but I probably really more so like unemployed, because I was waking up because you don't have a schedule, and I didn't really get with it. And this, I probably should have consulted first, because I probably should have had a schedule prior to me leaving, because the worst boss that most people can have is themselves. So long story.
Sometimes
because we either overwork.
Listen,
say it again, brother.
Be a good boss.
I didn't know how to be a good boss, not to myself, because either you're going to overwork yourself, or sometimes you can underwork yourself. And at that point in time, I'm kind of I'm figuring it out. What I did know was that I had a propensity to overwork. I'm a workaholic. I'm telling you, I'm a workaholic. I work a lot. The only other person that probably works harder than me is the brother on the other side of the screen, because I saw him do some things as well. The brother gets it. So I'm a workaholic as well. Shouts out to Kenyatta. Kenyatta, what's going on? So maybe about 2 weeks in, I think I want to say I got the flu. 2 weeks into me working for myself. 2 weeks into working for the worst boss. I think I
consider yourself to be the worst boss, huh?
At the time I was. At the time I was terrible. I mean, I was terrible. 2 weeks in, I caught the flu, and it I don't know what happened, but it was hard for me to sleep when I caught the flu. You know when your nose is all stuffed up, you're getting these headaches, etc. And here it is. That's probably the first sign of stress, because you're more likely to catch. You're more likely to become sick or something happened. Your body starts to break down when you're under a lot of stress. But I didn't. Listen, people. Hindsight is 2020. I wish I had the 7 Qs at the time, but I just know that I'm sick. I'm not thinking about everything that's going through my mind. Here's number one. The health insurance is done, and the city had decent health insurance, so that's starting to come to an end. You're no longer having to check in. You're no longer getting that bi-weekly paycheck. You're no longer, it's just all these things are happening. But at the time, I'm not knowing what's going on. All I know is that I'm sick. And so while I was during this time being sick, and it was kind of different from COVID. You still can go out in public when you were sick. But during this time, for some reason, I couldn't sleep. And I remember the exact night when it happened, because I was watching, I think Tony Robbins had something on Netflix, and I'm Not Your Guru was the title of the program, and I was watching this Not Your Guru, and I fell asleep for a brief moment, and then I woke up, and when I woke up, it was like I couldn't breathe. I was like gasping, but I'm thinking it's because I'm sick or whatever. And I mean, this went on for about 3 to 4 days. Gradually getting sicker, gradually not sleeping at all. And I don't know if anybody knows what happens, but on about your 3rd to 4th day of no sleep, your mind just starts to go other places. Like, I mean, you start to think of things that are inconceivable. You can't make sense of just regular, like the conversations, the amount of focus you have to put into just a regular conversation, the amount of focus that you have to put into, like, I mean, this goes beyond, when you walk, it's the equivalent of walking into a room and not knowing what you went in there for 24/7. So this is happening 24/7. I'm not able to sleep 24/7. So the next thing that happened with all that came anxiety attacks. So now I'm getting these anxiety attacks, and if you don't know what an anxiety attack is, says my mind's playing tricks on me, Scarface. Yeah, 1000%, because that's exactly what it was doing. It was definitely playing tricks and flipping, Kenyatta. So I'm having these anxiety attacks to the point where I'm driving, and an anxiety attack almost feels, I don't think I've ever had a heart attack, not that I know of, but it feels like your heart is about to jump out of your chest. I mean, it got to the point where I can never forget, I called Chris and I said, Chris, I think I need to go to the hospital.
So said, at that point in time, you started to realize that something was going wrong. But I mean, this is like how many days? 4 days, 5 days, 6 days? How long is this now?
We're hard-headed. We're stubborn. Oh, I can never forget. Here's something. I went to my mother and I told her, and she's like, that happens to me all the time. She said that happens to me all the time. So you just got to get through it, kind of. You know what I mean? You just got to push through it. That's what she told me. Yeah, say it again.
She kind of blew it off just a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, what does she know? This is a lady who came from Jamaica, family farmers, etc. Like a strong, what we call a strong Black woman, So it's like you're gonna have to deal with it. So I'm like, well, I guess I just have to deal with it. But there was one day when I said, I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm going to the hospital because I think I'm having a heart attack. And so I ended up going to the hospital. They run the test, etc. doctor's like, man, I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what it is, but here's some pills. You know, you can take these pills. I don't even know what it was. It might have been, what are the anxiety pills? Probably, he said, these moms were they was a bunch of tough women. Yeah. I don't know what the anxiety pills were, but at the time I'm like, I'm not taking pills because I'm hearing people getting it. Say it again.
Xanax.
It might have been Xanax. Yeah, it might have been Xanax. I'm like, I'm not taking these pills. You know, people get addicted to Xanax. I'm not going to be one of these people getting addicted to Xanax. I'm a business person. I'm going to get past it. Oh, look at Beethoven in the house. Shouts out to Beethoven Francois.
What's going on, B? How you doing, brother?
Appreciate it. So it got to the point, and then, I mean, didn't know what to do with it. I think this went on for about 2 weeks. And there was 1 week of where it was just, now the sickness is gone. I'm no longer, I think the flu or whatever it was, because I know I got the Z-Pack. They gave me the Z-Pack, the flu was gone, but I'm still not being able to sleep. I'm still getting these panic attacks. Let me tell you something, people. I don't know the exact amount of days when you finally hit the ice, when you hit the iceberg or whatever, but I was sinking like the Titanic. The only time that I felt good was when I went to the gym. And then of course I met Joy DuPont from Toastmasters. She was like a second mom to me. She was very deep into meditation, very deep into breathing exercises. So I told her about it, and she said, come by the house. We'll do some breathing exercise and some meditation. Some of the hardest meditation that I did, but while I was doing the meditation and the breathing exercises, it also calmed me down. So that's one of the things that you definitely can put into your into the cues, is learning to do some breathing techniques. And she was a professional. That's what she did. She taught meditation. So that's part of the consulting. But the gym would also help, because the gym is similar to meditation or to breath work. Because when you're lifting, you start to get into a rhythm. You should anyway. You should be breathing. When you breathe in when you're on when you're going down, and then when you're pushing the weights, you're breathing out. So you can kind of get into that rhythmic breath work that's happening. So the gym was good. Joy definitely helped me, but I'm telling you, there was a breaking point where I said, you know what? I'm gonna take half of one of these Xanaxes and see what happens. And I'm telling you, I took a half and slept like a baby. I slept for maybe 18 hours, woke up, felt like a new man, felt like myself again, and then that was it. I just had to take the half, and that kind of just broke it, because there was something going on. And I remember a doctor telling me that I was getting into a cycle, and the cycle was, when you feel as falling asleep, your mind is so strong and you're going through so much stress that you make this happen, where you're waking up gasping for air. You're making this happen. Then along with not being able to sleep, because I'm a strong-willed person, very strong-minded, very logical, but you get all that taken away from you. One of the biggest learned lessons I've ever had in regards to just how your body can react and how your body can kind of turn against you at some point in time. Like we believe we have a lot of control, etc. But I'm gonna tell you what, that was one of those that time filled with stress. So now let's go back in hindsight as 2020 and let's look at everything that was going on within us, right, brother?
Interject some things right here.
Yeah. I know you got some questions.
So, not really questions, but just like to point out a few things. One of the major things that you did that was really, really well was that you started to identify that you had these different struggles. Health insurance gone, your weekly paycheck is gone, you're starting to feel sick. So all of us out there that are going through different types of struggles, we get a chance to start recognizing that we're having some difficulties inside of our life. That's the perfect time to deal with it. Don't wait for something else to happen. Like when Michael, you were talking about, you think you're having a heart attack. Many times when I'm inside, when I'm working as a paramedic, I'm finding out people are waiting until they get to the point where they are having the heart attack. Way too late.
Yeah.
You gotta start getting that stuff out there. So listen, y'all, this is what we're talking about. Identify the problem. Make your list. All the things that are different. You should understand those things. I go to bed every single night at 1:30. But now you're going to bed at 1:30. And you don't know the reason why. So what you're going to need to do is write that down. Hey, man, there's something that's got to change here. I got to get to bed before then, and if I can't go to bed before then, maybe it's because there's something going on inside me that needs to change. Now what you want to do is you want to start to move into prioritizing these different changes. What is affecting you the most? Because there's some of these things you might be able to fix. So maybe, Mike, you couldn't fix the health insurance because now you're on your own. But maybe you could have started looking into getting your own health insurance and what that would cost. Also, the paycheck, I know that you started grinding really hard to get that paycheck. One of the great things that you did, though, is that you ended up going back to working out. And I would consider that to be like the sixth thing, taking a break. When I say taking a break, y'all, it really means get back to that sweet spot inside of your life. You know, many times I'll talk to people like, there's so much stress going on in my life. Well, what helps you to release that stress? They said, well, going to the beach. When's the last time you've been to the beach? 2 months ago. Get back to the beach today. That's important. Prioritize going to the beach. Wake up in the morning. Go to the beach. For you, it was prioritize. Time for me to go back to the gym. We found a consultant that was able to help you to go through breathing exercises and help you to start really thinking about things differently. Mindset reshift, right? These are the types of things that start to happen inside life. I mean, I'm listening to your story, and you're like giving this all in hindsight being 2020. It's like it's easy to Monday night quarterback. But that's one of the reasons why we're having this show tonight. Because you can recognize what's going on in your life today. You can identify it today. Create your list today. Prioritize the things that are causing you the most stress, the most pressure, the most pain to the least. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means red hot fire, my eyes are bloodshot red, I feel like I'm going to hurt somebody, or I feel like I'm going to die, or something of that magnitude. You list that at the top. And those are the things that you need to start scaling. What can I do to fix this? I feel like I'm going crazy. See a therapist. I feel like I'm sick. See a doctor. I feel like I just can't control my appetite. I see a nutritionist. I feel weak and lethargic. Go see somebody who can help you out with what do you call those? A PT, a physical therapist. Maybe they can help you. Consult somebody for greater knowledge. Proverbs 1, verse 5. People that are wise will seek unto wise counsel. So don't think that it's a bad thing by seeking counsel. I encourage it. Go get it. Even as a coach, I got mentors. There's somebody smarter than me. I'm not the end all. I want some more too. This is what we all got to do.
Yeah, we have 1,000%. Like I said, hindsight 2020, and this is why we put this framework out in regards to dealing with stress, and in putting it down on paper so that we can there's something for you to go to. I mean, and here's the thing. Maybe you check it. You should just use it as a checklist regularly, because what happens is we kind of start to just go get into a habit of doing things when we want to be preemptive. We want to get this thing before it gets down the path of not being able to sleep, not start even before you get sick, the flu, which was definitely the trigger for everything. But hindsight 2020, all these things going on. I mean, this was a huge change of paradigms. And I took it lightly. That's one of the things that we tend to do. We tend to take when we're taking massive, and that was massive action. I kind of took it like, oh, this is just another this is something else that I'm doing. No, this is massive action you're doing, and that's anything that you're doing outside of what you're regularly used to doing, and definitely if it's something outside of what you're used to doing. My mother and parents come from a Jamaican background. My mother probably at points in times were working 18 hours a day, 18 to 20 hours a day kind of deal, and raising 3-4 kids at the same time. So coming from a paradigm of where you're exchanging time for money to where now you're exchanging ideals and results for money is two totally different things. What are you talking about? You don't have some place to go for 40 hours out of the week. This is not done. Maybe you should be able to do both these things at the same time. Maybe so that just looking back, huge paradigm shifts. Kenyatta mentioned something as well, and where she said huge biological clock shifts. Overworking, having the worst boss in the world at the time. Probably nutrition probably wasn't as good as it needed to be. That's another portion of it. So there's all these things that as I get around people and we put this framework together, like even John, I'm going to keep referencing this conference. One of the things they speak about in this conference is your schedule. It's important for us to have schedules. It's important for us to be disciplined. Discipline equals freedom. So that was one of the things that I was missing. So I may have reached out to a business coach, should have reached out to a life coach. Say, listen, this is what I'm planning on doing. Instead of me just jumping out, maybe I need jumping out of the plane. I'll jump out the plane, but maybe I need someone to help guide me. Maybe I should have took a few more classes on it. But so I'm just telling you, this is what happened to me. I definitely felt it, so on and so forth. I know I said I wasn't going to go along on my story. I did. I know we're getting out of here at 7:30. So we're already at 7:15. So I don't know if Joe's going to get it. Joe might have to get his chance next week.
Yeah, we'll come back. Let's revisit it again on next week. I've got to get my audio visual team in here. Oh, that's me. Yeah,
get the thing working.
I think the bottom line is you put it right where it needs to be, brother. You put it right where it needs to be in your feedback. Hindsight being 2020, and that's where we need to be at. Write these things down, make this stuff very clear. Use the techniques; they help. Let's see if we can flash all of the techniques, all the cues up on the screen, at least so everyone get a chance to be able to see them. And then
I appreciate it,
Kenyatta is sweet, man. I can't wait to meet up with her. I'm hoping that we can get her on the show.
So let's go through my story. We'll talk about what I should have done. What I should have done if I had the framework. So we go to identify. Okay, Mike, identify everything that's about to happen. You are leaving and it was, the best feeling in the world was putting in that 2-week notice. That felt so good to put in the 2-week notice, but then I needed to identify everything else that came with it. What kind of stressors, what kind of plan, etc., and start to identify the stress that I was feeling at that time. Number 2, like Joel said, I needed to list everything. I needed to list out what exactly was going on. Where's my support coming from, or lack of support? Where am I going to get the pushback from? Exactly what was going on with that? Okay, you got sick. What's going on with you getting sick? be open to seeing professionals. So should have probably sought out professionals a lot earlier, which is number 7. We'll get into that. Number 3, we got prioritize. Okay, so what was at the top of the list? What was I most stressed about? Was it the money? Was it the insurance? I mean, and it was a plethora of things. We spoke about it last week. If you don't tend to write things down, even if it's like daily, what you plan on getting done for the day, which I think that people should only have 3 things to do for the day that needs to be done. Joe talks about his the dynamic task list. I should prioritize, because what happens is that you don't prioritize what you need to get done, you kind of end up all over the place. And some of the things that are probably more urgent, you don't do them because you tend to put them off. We call this creative avoidance. That's why, even now in real estate, I need to make my calls between the hours of 8 and 11 or 8 and 12, because if I don't do it, I'm probably not going to get back to it. It's that because you put the things that you don't want to do off. Number 4, you got activate. You need to start putting things into action. Figure out what's on that list. What do I need to do? Let's take and go a little bit slower, please. Take what happened in regards to this situation that I had. Going to the gym. Well, that'll be going to take a break. But activate. What exactly is it that I need to do? Who do I need to see? Then we'll go to number 5. Less is more. Here I was attempting to put an entire business together, which I probably should have planned it out better. 1,000%, I probably should have planned it out better. But sometimes I think the story I told when I left, it was behind a Drake song. I forgot what Drake song it was. I remember I told the story, and Drake's song came on, fueled with probably my my pre-workout or caffeine. I was caffeined up. I was listening to Drake songs, and I wrote about 2 weeks notice. I can never forget. I took a picture of it. I sent it to Chris, and I went right up to and I took it up to my supervisor at the time. Can y'all say? Even now as a coach, I struggle with that. I think some of it is avoidance. I swear I should have been diagnosed. We can blame it on that, but I think creative avoidance is real. So
creative avoidance.
Creative avoidance is real. So very real. I should have planned it out better. I should have took things out in chunks. I probably should have planned the schedule before. I should have took a week. I should have took a week off. How about we go to number 6, which is take a break? Maybe instead of getting into this immediate activity after leaving the city, I could have took a step back, created my schedule, thought about what I should have done before I left, but thought more thoroughly through. Because once you leave, it's a different situation, right? Because now you're out there. So now I'm out there. I should have just sat back and said, okay, Mike, let's work your plan. Take a couple of days off, and then when you let's start working your plan. But take a break. Definitely should have got better into
some of the stuff we're talking about now, Mike. Write the vision, make it plain. That's huge. And that's not something that you knew back then.
I wish we had community.
I mean, now
I wish we had community beacon back then.
Writing down our plans and scheduling things out and listing things. But I mean, wow, how many times have we failed to do that in the past and just dove straight in? And next thing you know, we find ourselves, struggling.
Yeah. And then the last but not least is to consult. Find somebody to consult with. I kind of did it, but with no choice. And that's where you don't want to be. You don't want to get to the point where there's no choice in what you have to do. I was forced. I had to go see somebody. Thank God for Joy. Thank God for the guidance. But prior to that, like I'm telling people, find someone who's done it before. Find someone who can lead you in the right direction, and definitely have a supportive group of people. Joe's mentioned something a little bit earlier, which I think is genius. You don't want to be the smartest person that you know. You look for some mentors, look for some coaches, look for some people who can give you a different perspective. We have blind spots. It just is what it is. You got blind spots, and then also remember that when you're taking action, it's gonna be uncomfortable. There's a lot of uncomfortability with harnessing energy and figuring out where it goes. It's energy. It's unlimited. It's there. A lot of we all have unlimited potential. So now when we're harnessing it, we got to figure out a way how to siphon it and how to use it in order to create the diamonds in which we shine. Part of that is seeking out people who can help you. You know, we talk about mentor. People pay for it. I'm gonna tell you right now. Part with your money. Part with your money. The best thing you can do is invest in yourself. Part with your money. Get to where you need to get to faster. Find some reputable people. Find people who care. Look up this Tenacity Foundation. Go check those people out. It's right here.
We got you.
For you. So, yeah, that's my spill. I'm checking out. I'm done.
You did great, Mike. I'm reserving the rest of my voice because there's so much echo. It's hard to get this conversation over. So I apologize to all of our followers and everything. I'll work on this, get my AV guy out here to really square this thing away. Kenyatta, we enjoyed you. Timmy, we enjoyed you. There it is. You know, and that's why coaches are such a big thing right now, Kenyatta, because they're blind spotters. You know, they're sitting there. You know, you tell the story, and they have the ability to pick out what you're missing. And a lot of times, it's very small changes, minor augmentation that creates great velocity.
Yeah, that's good. 1000%. You're almost there. Some of us just need a little bit of help. Once again, supportive groups. Get around some supportive people, some people who are positive and kind of moving in the right direction. That was another thing that I learned from this training. You got to get around the right people. Otherwise, you can find yourself just chasing your tail. And a little bit of that happened during that time as well. Around people who, you know, that were used to certain things. Blind spots are kind of hard to see. One needs the awareness. Get a coach, people. I have several. I have several coaches and mentors. There's no shame in it and nothing in it and getting better. Awesome. All right. So listen, next week we'll be back with Community Beacon. Joel gets a chance to tell his story next time. I'm sure the audio will be working a lot better next time. I can take a step back. Matter of fact, I think next week we'll be filming it.
Yeah, pre-record next week.
Yeah. So next week will be pre-recorded, so we'll have that done for you guys. There's a lot of time involved in doing these shows, trying to make it the best that we can for you guys. Love the engagement, Kenyatta. We had Tim who joined us earlier.
Timmy Perry.
Of course, we had Kevin as well. We appreciate you guys. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back, like I said, every week, next week, 6:30. Of course, Monday nights at 9 o'clock. I'm doing Monday I don't even want to call it motivation. I'm just giving you the real. But it's motivational, Mike, if you want to call me that, on Mondays at 9 o'clock. I get to let loose on that show.
King of real estate, y'all.
And of course, Wednesday, we have It Starts With Me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me, but it starts with me. So that's an awesome show that we have going on. Joel is interviewing some diverse, just different great groups of people, of course, that are sharing their testimonies in regards to business and life. Definitely can catch a lot of nuggets on there as well. So check it out. And of course, you guys can feel free to subscribe and like our other pages, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Joel's the motivatorpreneur.
Yeah, and we got
All that stuff is
some
in the
great people
description.
coming. We got Nancy Berger. She created the fear formula, so she's going to be coming up soon. And we have Dan Montague that's supposed to be coming up soon. You know, we got some great people that we're going to be scheduling to get on in here. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that. So check us out on Wednesdays, 12:30.
Love it, guys. Love it. Listen, we'll catch you next week, man. Oh, Beethoven checked in too. I can't forget Beethoven. Shouts out to Beethoven, the jet setter. I think last time I checked, he was in New York or something. So Beethoven is moving around doing big and better things, man. And a lot of the things he's doing, he's behind the scenes on. So there's certain things that I'm seeing, and I know he's the creator of it. But a lot of awesome things happening over there, what he got going on. Appreciate you, Kenyatta. God bless you. Hey, Kenyatta said we need to do lunch, Joel, so we definitely need to get up with Kenyatta. We appreciate your support of the show as well. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you. We'll see you next week.